I have a question.
Hello.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, team. I hope you all had a wonderful day today. Today we are going to discuss the corporate governance, ethics, and risky assignment. We are going to discuss the case study assignment. We are provided by a case where a top South African Indian origin businessman was arrested, linked to some fraud and corruption issues with regard to the Estina project. So we want to discuss this case in relation to the questions that we are given. So question one, the key question among many organizations has been pertaining to the justification of why the sudden interest in risk management. We discussed the major challenges that have been highlighted that sanction the need for a focus in risk, compliance and control structures. It evaluated the challenge being presented in the case study with regards to Estina Dairy Farm project. So in this question, we are required to focus on two major things. One, we would like to discuss the challenges that justifies the need for risk management in corporations. And also we need to evaluate, we need to identify first the challenge which is being presented within the provided case and evaluate it in relation to risk to risk management. So as an introduction, maybe you need to highlight the link between governance, risk management, and compliance by providing basic or brief definition of what is governance, risk management, or compliance. And after defining, then you need to introduce your essay and highlight what are you going to mainly discuss in your essay. But this question we need to refer to the case study provided as much as possible, so that our response is a link with the provided case. basically, the major challenges which cause which justify the need for risk management in corporations. There are basically three major challenges, which are regulatory measures to improve governance and behavior, inappropriate behavior, and cost control. So we are going to discuss these three challenges. The regulatory pressure. In recent years, there's an increased regulatory pressure, especially on the part of financial institutions, to put in place controls and measures to manage risk, and which relate to corporate governance and regulatory frameworks within financial institutions. So basically, these regulatory measures and pressures, they started within the financial sector, but eventually is spread to other sectors of the economy, and like almost every company, every institution, they now have regulatory or governance bodies throughout the economy. So the Basel Committee defines corporate governance as a set of relationships between companies' management, its board, and its shareholders and other stakeholders, which provide the structure through which the objectives of the company are set, and the means of attaining those objectives and monitoring performance. Regulators have been increased their focus on corporate governance practice within banks, especially after the global financial crisis. We have seen much increase in the issues of corporate governance and regulatory issues within the banking institutions. This is due to the increase in the number of bankruptcies, which may be deemed was the cause of absent or poor corporate governance regulations. The global financial crisis can be blamed on deficiency and the vulnerability of corporate governance practices. International institutions, mainly the driving forces behind the financial services regulations through regulatory attention is although regulatory attention has progressed beyond financial institutions, other sectors are also taking part in regulatory issues. And these international standards on disclosure, prudential supervision, and corporate governance are seen by most country lawmakers as minimum or requirements, as good regulatory governance that is mandatory. So you find that mainly these regulatory bodies, they set minimum requirements for every company, so that the company can also engage in several other issues which improve corporate governance and regulatory. So these bodies, they just set minimum requirements that should be followed by organizations within the certain sectors. Like the Basel Committee, they set the minimum requirements in relation to risk management, corporate governance, capital structures, capital levels, and the like.
Sorry, question.
Yes.
Can you please mute the other person that is on the group? He's making some noise. We can't hear you clearly.
Okay.
Thanks.
How are you doing? It's been too long. Oh, we're battling with our finances and the clinical. The doctor is painful blood sinuses and the cough. Oh no. Have you tried ACC 200?
Sorry, yeah, okay. So the main aim of corporate governance is to lay down guidelines to ease decision making in line with the objectives by defining the roles and duties and responsibilities of from the board of directors to the executive and the management of all the institutions. So this corporate governance and the rise of regulatory need has caused the increase or can justify why risk management has been a so serious thing within different sectors of the economy. Now, almost every company, you will see a risky department, or if there are there's no department, you see that there are some individuals who are hired mainly to deal with the risk issues within most organizations. Another challenge which also caused the increase in risk management issues within organizations is inappropriate behavior. Inappropriate behavior or misconduct is wrongful or improper or unlawful conduct motivated by premeditated or intentional purpose, or by obstinate indifference to the consequence of one's acts. A recent spate of complex market failures, including market manipulation, anti-money laundering and sanctions program failures, rogue trading and mis-selling, highlighted significant issues of misconduct. In the financial sector, you can also see manipulative techniques and strategies which have evolved alongside the market. For example, the price manipulation of financial assets by a certain group or certain market leaders in the market. They can manipulate the price of certain financial products so that they can benefit or make huge profits. Market manipulation harms the integrity of organizations and thereby undermines public confidence in financial markets by distorting prices, harming the hedging functions of these markets, and creating an artificial appearance of market activity. The authorities around the world need to have adequate risk systems in place to detect, investigate, and prosecute. So you see, especially in financial markets, there is a rise in manipulative activities and market distortions. So these risk management tools and frameworks can also, to a greater extent, help in managing this manipulative behavior by certain organizations or by certain individuals within financial sectors. The third challenge is the issue of costs. Cost control is the practice of identifying and reducing business expenses to increase profits, and it starts with the budgeting process. A business owner compares the company's actual financial result with the budgeted expectations, and if actual costs are higher than planned, the management has the information. It needs to take action to rectify the issue. So risk management processes are important to reduce the variability of outcome against the budgets. You see that by definition, risk management, risk can be defined as variability of return. Organizations, they have a certain return that they expect in their investments. So any variation from those expected return can be defined as the risk. And costs is one of the major issues which can cause this variability of return. So by trying to manage the cost of the organization, the management will be, to some extent, try to manage the risk, or maybe they will implement some risk management tools. Operating with returns below the cost of capital is not sustainable to accept or acceptable to investors, as it represents loss and capital erosion. Shareholders and investors demand for higher returns on investment, which require firms to manage risk and control in a more consistent and cost-effective manner. So one way these firms can address the cost issue is to use a common risk taxonomy or integrated risk assessments, standardized control frameworks, and improve management information system in their businesses. So this will all help the organizations to try to manage their costs, and as a result, to increase their return on investment, or to preserve the shareholders' value. So these are the major three challenges which justifies the increase in risk management issues within organizations in recent years. So now we want to discuss the challenge which was within the case study, the challenge at Estina Dairy Farm project. So in this case, the idea is you need to justify from by using the case study to justify your selected challenge, or the challenge that you think was the main challenge at this project. So of the three challenges, depending on your justification from the case study, you can choose any of the challenges, but you need to justify by highlighting from the case study why do you think the challenge you chose is the main challenge faced at this dairy farm project. So I think the main challenge within this case is the issue of inappropriate behavior. We are told that the project failed badly, mainly because of the issues to do with money laundering and corruption. There are allegations that tens of millions of rands from the venture were siphoned through money laundering to over 20 million rands, which the Provincial Free State Department of Agriculture paid for a feasibility study. So the issues of money laundering, they relate to the challenge of bad behavior or misconduct. We are also told that the initial cost of the project was over budgeted, since it was only supposed to cost just 1.5 million. So the issue of over budgeting is also an issue of inappropriate behavior, the issue of misconduct. We have also noticed that the funds were not used for the intended purposes. The funds were being channeled to other companies. So this issue of siphoning the funds to other uses, it's also an issue of misconduct, which has resulted to greater need of risk management practice, especially in government-funded projects. There's a need to engage or to implement risk management, or so to manage issues of misconduct and inappropriate behavior on the part of management or the people who are given the mandate to certain projects. So you find that the government of South Africa, through the Office of the Treasury, they developed the public sector risk management framework, which include the accompanying guidelines or documents and templates and implementation tools for the public service as the basic foundation for risk management in the public sector. So yeah, this issue or within this, the case study provided, the main issue was on misconduct. Before we move to the next question, do we have any questions with regard to question 1?
Now you may proceed.
Okay, question 2. In response to the numerous corporate scandals, there have been multiple responses that have been considered. Provide a definition for organizational misconduct, and through secondary research, evaluate how the implementation of the EU Green Paper principle might have prevented the Eastina Dairy Farm scandal. So again, in this question,
Sorry,
Yes.
question.
yes,
When I started with question 1, is it fine if I include I'm not sure what they call this, the report from the public protector, where she stated what money was used to buy what, especially on the kettles? Can I put that as well on the part of the cost?
on part of the,
On the second irregularity that you mentioned, I think it was cost. You were talking about cost.
okay, where I was talking about cost.
Yeah. So I'm saying on because I think I found the report, that the public protector's report, where they stated everything, what money was used for what. Like the market price of the prime cattle indicated as below, what they used, how much it costed, and how much was used.
Oh, okay, I think it relates to the second challenge,
Oh, okay.
inappropriate, because
Oh.
on the issue of costs, we are saying there's the need for risk management is because of the high costs in business, high costs that we face as a business. So we need to manage the risk so that we reduce the cost. But when it comes to issues of maybe where within the project, the cost was over budgeted. This relates now to misconduct or inappropriate behavior, because they were over budgeting so that they can channel the remainder of the funds to other uses.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I was saying in question 2 again, we need to focus on 2 issues. The first issue, which is the defining the organizational misconduct, and the second part is to evaluate how the implementation of the EU Green Paper principle might have prevented the case. So we need to know what are the issues highlighted in the EU Green Paper principle, and try to apply to the case, to evaluate whether if these Green Paper principles were implemented within the project, was it going to help? Was it going to change or to prevent what happened? So, as an introduction, maybe you need to link or to highlight that the main issues within the Eastina Dairy Farm project, the main issues were to do with organizational misconduct. and just in brief, because the main part of the question is we need to define organizational misconduct. So we don't need to put much on the introduction, because the question requires us to discuss on organizational misconduct is the main part. So organizational misconduct, by definition, is defined as behavior in or by an organization that a social control agent, that is a board that can impose sanction on behalf of wider society, judges to transgress a line separating right from wrong. Such a line can separate legal, ethical, and social responsible behavior from their untithness. Organizational misconduct refers to situations where the common is significantly wronged its customers or employees. So organizational misconduct is a bit different from a personal misconduct. So organizational misconduct is actions by part of the organization, actions taken by the organization, not by specific individuals within the organization. So the organization will be taking a stance with relation to, maybe it can affect the customers, the employees, or the other third parties, the other stakeholders of the organizations. For example, the government, the financiers, the shareholders, and the like. The three types of organizational misconduct are deception, management misconduct, and skewed management values, and all can negatively affect the business. I have identified three examples of misconduct. Misconduct towards owners, for example, issues to do with creative accounting, deceptive accounting, where management, they lie to their owners or shareholders or other stakeholders in relation to the profit level or any accounting issue of the organization, where they will hide some other information in terms of maybe the cost, where the management can report less profit than that which it attained. So these issues, they relate to deception or misconduct towards the owners of the company. There's also misconduct towards employees, such as sweet shops. Misconduct towards customers, such as dangerous products. You see that some organizations or some companies can lie to customers in relation to maybe the ingredients of a certain product, or maybe the uses, anything within about the product, where the organization or the management can lie to customers or mislead the customers. So those are examples of misconduct towards customers. Misconduct toward third parties, such as environmental degradation, or maybe towards government or regulators. causes of organizational misconduct. According to literature, there are 5 main organizational level theories that emphasize the role played by. So organizational misconduct can be caused by rational choice, strain, maybe it's by organizational culture, networks, and maybe accidents as the cause of misconduct. So these are the main causes of misconduct within organizations. So now we want to discuss whether the implementation of the European Union Green Paper principles could have helped on the provided case. So maybe in brief, you need to maybe highlight what is the European Union Green Paper principle, what is included in that piece of paper, and just in brief before we discuss or evaluate its usefulness in terms of the external case. So basically the Green Paper principle is just a corporate governance principle framework for it was designed for companies within the European Union, but it can be implemented anywhere in the world. So according to this Green Paper principle, good governance is based on a number of widely accepted principles. So we are going to discuss the principles. So these principles, they are 6 principles: delegation of authority, checks and balances, professional decision-making by an effective team, accountability and transparency, conflict of interests, and ailing incentives. So according to the Green Paper principles, European companies should produce a schedule of matters reserved for board and a schedule of authorities for executive management. So this delegation of authority, was it going to help in the case? Yes, to a greater extent, because by delegation of authority, we are saying not everyone, a person or a manager is not doing everything within the organization. There are certain roles and responsibility depending on the level of management, from the board, the executive management, and the like. So these different roles and responsibility, they allow the organization to effect the certain principle, which is check and balances. So the segregation of duties between different management levels will also allow and offers a platform for delegation of duties from one level of management to another. So on the case, the issue of our case, I didn't see any delegation of duties on the part of the chairman, who was doing everything on his own. So by lack of a delegation of authority, it created a chance or room for misconduct and unethical behavior within the the part of Shama, because he was doing everything on his own. The second principle, checks and balances. According to the EU Green Paper principle, appropriate checks and balances ensure that no one person is unfettered power over decision making. So decision making is not centered on, or it's not supposed to be done by one person. Decisions should be made by a group of people, or maybe by a committee within the organization. This may include splitting the roles of chief executive from that of the board chair, using what they call the 4 eyes principles when signing contracts. Where maybe the contracts are not signed by one person, but maybe 2 or 3 people are required to sign certain contracts.
Hi, question.
Maybe. Yes.
We can't hear you. We are losing you as if you are far from the mic or from the ear.
Oh, okay. How is it now?
Thank you. It's fine.
It's now fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay. So when when making decisions in terms of maybe choosing the subcontracted company, it was not supposed to be done by one person. Maybe a group or a number of people was supposed to make that decision. According to the principles, these checks and balances also can allow maybe separate branches or departments to be involved in the decision making process, or maybe to checking the if the other department or the other person is done the processes according to the guidelines and procedure manual of the company. So if this was done in this case, I think it was going to help to a larger extent in maybe avoiding the issues where one person is doing all the decisions without any other committee or any other person checking on the work of the other. The third principle is professional decision making by an effective team. So you see, these principles are to some extent they are linked, because you see the delegation of authority is only possible where there are where there's a team and where there's and it also allows for the checks and balances to take place, because each and every person or each and every department has a certain role to play, and they all take part in the decision making. So, according to the EU Green Paper principles, European bodies, the boards are considered key decision-making bodies, and so should focus on improving board effectiveness and efficiency. So this emphasized the idea that if a decision is being made by a team, it is more thorough than a decision being done by an individual. That belief that a team always outperform individuals in terms of making good decisions. So this principle emphasizes the issue of consulting and also involving other team members when making decisions. This will limit the issues or to do with maybe over budgeting. If the budgeting process was being done by maybe an effective team, a professional team to which was put in place to do the budgeting for the project, the issues of over budgeting was not going to take place because of maybe the diverse skills and perspectives which will be brought into decision making by different parties of a certain team. So it emphasizes on the importance of team when it comes to decision making. Because teams are believed to be very effective when it comes to the decision making process. However, one can also argue that maybe within the team, a number of those players within the team can connive to maybe to make a decision which is not based to the organization, but for their personal interest. To some extent, this can happen. But in general, decisions from an effective team, they are more thorough and more effective than decisions which are being done by an individual. The fourth principle is accountability and transparency. We can note that maybe there was a lack of accountability and transparency on the issue of our case. The Green Paper principles emphasize that companies should frequently, voluntarily disclose more information than required by the law as a means of gaining the confidence and commitment of investors and other external stakeholders. It emphasizes on issue of transparency, whereby the company needs to highlight to different stakeholders, especially the government, government-linked organizations. They need to be more transparent by communicating every aspect of their business by publishing or maybe reporting to to the stakeholders or the government on the issues and every step that they would have taken in the project. Organizations, they are said transparent when they enable others, other stakeholders to see and to understand how they operate in the honest way. So they need to report, especially these government linked organizations. They need to report to the government on how and what they are doing. This transparency, to achieve transparency, organizations should also provide information about its activities and governance to stakeholders. That is accurate, that is complete, and this information should be made available to the stakeholders in time. They should communicate in time. So this means that Sharma, as a director in the South African Department of Trade and Industry, was supposed to be accountable to the board and all stakeholders, including the government. And as a director, he was supposed to be transparent by communicating and providing any other information pertaining to the project or the stakeholders. The fifth principle of the EU Green Paper relates to conflicts of interest. In the case where we are told that Sharma has an interest in the subcontracted companies, according to the case, these companies, they were just given the money, but the work was already done by other companies. So these companies, it seems they were just created to allow for money laundering and corruption purposes. According to the Green Paper principles of the European Union, companies are aware that directors are prohibited from directing the activities of the company in favor of themselves or particular shareholders. A conflict of interest occurs when an individual or a person, personal interests, for example, in terms of family, friendship, maybe it's a company or any other social organization which could compromise the decision of a manager for the judgment or action in the workplace. So it is evident from our case that Sharma had some personal interests within the subcontracted companies, which is an issue highlighted in this Green Paper principles, that directors should not, or they are prohibited to make decisions where in the case where they have a personal interest within that decision, because that is going to compromise the judgment or the decision, because obviously the director will act or will choose or decide in a way which is going to benefit him. In many countries or states, government agencies, they take issues of conflict of interest very seriously. So we will see that government agencies or government institutions, they are very regulated in relation to issues to do with the conflict of interest. Because usually these decisions or personal decisions, they will not be favorable to the objectives of the agency or the project. Like in this case, we have seen that the decisions made, they have nothing to do with the project, but it was mainly going to benefit some personal interest. So the issues of conflict of interest, if it was implemented within this case, this could have avoided the the loss within this dairy project. The last principle to do with the green paper is aligning incentives. The European Union Green Paper principles recommends that companies should align incentives in a way that is consistent with the long-term interests of the company. Companies must acknowledge that the problem of incentive misalignment exists and then determine its root cause and align. So we in this case we can argue that maybe the incentives within the government agency which was responsible for this project was not aligning to the needs of the long-term interests of the company. So the idea was to make the project profitable by doing a feasibility study, which could allow the project to be implemented in a more profitable way. But this feasibility study was not done properly, which resulted to the loss due to the money laundering and the corruption within the project. The project lost a lot of money to certain individuals, which were directly linked to the government through looting and siphoning, money laundering, and the like. So we can argue that if maybe these government employees were being incentivized well, these issues to do with looting and the like could not have been happened. So yeah, the green paper highlights these 6 issues. So in this case, we tried to maybe look on different or on these different principles to see if it was implemented, was it going to help? The answer generally is yes, it was going to work to minimize or maybe to avoid the case that happened within the project. It was going to help to a large extent. Right, our time is 9 past 9. I don't think we can discuss any further questions. I don't know if we have any questions relating to what we have discussed today. Hopefully, we're going to finish the other 2 questions tomorrow. Any questions?
Question.
Yes.
Do you have this green paper principle? Because I've been searching for it. I can't locate it.
You can't locate it.
I even
yeah,
went to Google Scholar.
Oh, okay. I will try to look for it and forward it to you.
Okay.
I'm sure. I'm sure I have it somewhere. I don't remember where, but I'm sure I have it. I will
Okay.
look for it and.
Yeah, because it's not only for the assignment; it's for KIPS.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course.
Yes, true. Okay, thank you. No, I don't have any further questions.
Okay. So if we don't have any other questions, that's mark the end of our discussion today. Hopefully, we are going to have another discussion tomorrow to finish this case study. Thank you all for joining. Have a pleasant and good night.
Thanks, Question.
Hello? 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 Is this class still on?